Hi, this is Max Rodersman from Does It Matter and Why? And we're joined by Craig Kelly. Hi, Craig.
Max, how you doing?
So we're going to talk about the Garden Street bike lanes. And before we do that, let me just mention that Craig is a former city councilman, and he rides his bike everywhere, has been. In fact, when I met him, he didn't even own a car. So
I didn't even know what a car was, Max.
He didn't even know what a car was. So if anybody knows about basically getting everywhere on a bike, it would be him. So I guess, first take our viewers through what happened on Garden Street.
So, Max, the city of Cambridge has got this bike lane ordinance that requires the city to put in something like 25 miles of bike lanes throughout the city. And someone decided that bike lanes would be a good thing on Garden Street. Now, I've biked Garden Street thousands of times. I've never felt unsafe there in both directions. And my family, of course, has done it too. My kids, my wife. Our church is on the other end of Garden Street from us. But the city decided to make Garden Street one way and then put in a separated bike path, a bike path that's got these bollards, these plastic bollards to keep the cars out and whatnot on the edge. And they did this, and they said, we're gonna have a safety improvements project going on. We're gonna make Garden Street safer. Didn't really say anything about how the redesign was going to work or how cars were going to be shunted off Garden Street or whatnot. And then one day they striped it and they put in the bollards and they put in the do not enter sign and so forth. And boom, overnight, you've got this permanent street layout change. And a lot of people looking at it and going, wait a minute, that's dangerous. It's dangerous for bicyclists. It's dangerous for people on other streets.
But you said it's safety. It would be safer.
No, I didn't say it would be safer. These bike lanes, the city's bike lanes, are incredibly dangerous for bicyclists. Right? They're poorly designed. They've got these bollards that are exactly the right height as your handlebar. So if you hit them, if you tap them as you bike by, you'll fall. They're very, very narrow, so that it's very difficult for bicyclists to pass each other. And when I say bicyclists, like we call them bike lanes, but you got these electrocycles in there that can go 30 miles an hour or stand-up scooters or whatever. So you got all these vehicles of different speeds stuck in these narrow lanes. They're full of ice in the wintertime and leaves right now and debris and broken bollards. They're horribly dangerous. So the city can call these things safety improvements, but they are not safe.
Right. I mean, so the bollards, like if you're on a bike and you hit one with your handlebar, you'd basically just go tumbling over.
Absolutely. And they're exactly the same height as my handlebars. Exactly.
And if a driver is drunk, I mean, the bollards are not going to actually stop the car.
No, that's why they're called flex posts, because if you hit them with your car or your truck, it doesn't dent your car or your truck. You hit them with your bicycle and you fall over. They're as flexible operationally as, a sapling, a maple sapling or something. They will knock you over.
So, I mean, I sort of get the feeling that they're more of a political statement than actually something useful.
Absolutely. This is all about redesigning Cambridge, Max. It's not about making Cambridge safer for anyone, much less making it safer for cyclists. And as you pointed out, I went years without a car. My wife and I, we raised our two kids without a car. If it was snowing, they biked. If it was raining, they biked. If it was hot, they just had to bike everywhere. So if there's someone that wakes up in the morning and goes to bed at night thinking bike safety, it's me. Anything that makes biking safer, I'm like, that's a good idea. These things do not. These bike lanes are a political statement. People want to turn, I call it, turn Cambridge into Amsterdam on the Alewife. Right. Or Copenhagen on the Charles or something like that. They've got this fantasy of what life will be like if we just have more separated lanes.
But I'm into having it like Amsterdam, but don't we need then to have zoning change so that you can have cafes in these? So on Garden Street, there's nothing. There are no cafes. There's no retail whatsoever. So I'm all for, putting a bike lane into Garden Street if you opened up to cafes, but there's none of that there. So I don't get it.
There is none of that there. So they've got this fantasy. That's in their mind what's going to happen. On the ground, you've made bicycling more dangerous for cyclists. And what you've also done in Garden Street is, because now it's one way, all those cars, they're not gone. We didn't replace cars with mass transit or anything else. We just moved them off of Garden Street. So people who live on other streets are now flooded with cars because Google Maps is telling people if you can't go on Garden Street, you make a left here, you make a right there, and boom, now you're going down Raymond Street. Well, Garden Street, the traffic was governed by stoplights. People pay a lot of attention to stoplights. Maybe not enough, but a lot. You know what Raymond Street has? It's got stop signs. Stop signs are really not as effective at managing traffic as stoplights. And yet, now we've got all that traffic that used to be on Garden Street, and it's on side streets like Raymond that are not made for this level of traffic. They don't have the sight lines. They don't have the width. They've got more people walking back and forth across them. It's horrible, horrible. And the city and the bike lane advocates just didn't think, not just about how dangerous the bike lanes are, but of how dangerous they're making other parts of the city in their quest to turn us into Amsterdam.
Yeah, I mean, my complaint about it is obviously I use Garden Street all the time to come home from Harvard Square. So I saw in the news something about Garden Street, but I actually never in my mind put the two together. So when I was coming back going down Brattle, and you have that turn, and I couldn't go down Garden Street as usual. Now what's weird to me is Garden Street is very wide. I would put that in the safest streets in Cambridge for biking because it's just so wide.
It's wide and it's straight.
It's wide and it's straight, and there's nothing really there coming out. It's not like in the middle of Harvard where a car might jump out at you. So, and like you say, there's a light right on Linnean, so it's not anyway. So I had to go down Concord, which is already a very busy route. And I don't know if our viewers are not really familiar with Cambridge. In a sense, Concord really goes into feed
the western suburbs.
The western suburbs, right. And Garden Street really goes to feed North Cambridge. So there are two types of traffic. But the thing I really hate about Cambridge is, historically each town is like a small little town, and all the roads sort of spidered out from it. And as it got developed, everybody in each town, in each little center, is like, well, we don't want traffic coming through ours. So they made all these one-ways to make it very difficult to go through that town. And they all do that. So to me, when I'm trying to come at Garden, and now I have to go down Concord, I have to go actually really out of my way to get It's more gas burn.
I don't care. I don't care if it's inconvenient for you, Max. My point is it's not safe for anyone. It's made life more dangerous for everyone. So when you're driving, if you were just driving and or equally safe, you get down Concord, and Google Maps is going to put you on streets to get to your home that aren't designed to have the volume of traffic we're now putting on them because the city has shut down Garden one way. So it's really not about the inconvenience that you face.
No, I'm not talking about the inconvenience. I'm talking about the more time you're driving, the greater the chance that you're getting in an accident. So, and the reason I point out that they're going two different places, if I'm on a bike and I want to go down to to Fresh Pond or whatever, I want to go down to the reservoir, even if the Garden is both ways, I'm not going to take it. I'm still going to go on Concord. So now I'm dealing with more bike slicks, right?
Yes. I am not on Concord Ave. I'm not on Garden Street if Garden Street doesn't take me where I want to go.
Exactly.
So now I'm on Concord Ave, and Concord Ave has got a boatload of people that now they're there. They used to be on Garden Street, and they're not on Concord Ave to stay on Concord Ave. They're on Concord Ave for the extra 5 blocks or whatever before Google Maps tells them to take a right or a left or whatever on a street they could not find. It's just Google Maps is telling them where to drive. We didn't think, the city and the bike lane advocates did not think of any of those side effects when they decided to do this. And they've made the city more dangerous for pretty much everyone that does anything here.
Well, exactly. So, I mean, my feeling is that if you're going to say to Garden Street, that's where you're going to bike, then I feel you should make it illegal for bikes to go on Concord. Now, even though they have to go, bike a little bit extra distance to get to, let's just say, to the reservoir, that's still fine because we're deciding that that's more safe. But by allowing them to go by basically saying, okay, no cars on Garden Street, only bicyclists, but bicyclists both on Garden Street and Concord Street, but more cars on Concord Street, me as a driver, because I'm a very nervous driver, I don't want to hit a bicyclist. So to me, it's made it more dangerous because there are cars that speed down Concord, and it doesn't. I don't feel like enough discussion has been made about.
So I would disagree. Bicyclists go where they need to go, and Concord Ave is a residential street. Obviously, we don't ride on Route 95 in these superhighways.
Yeah,
but if your point is the city is making bicycling unacceptably dangerous on some streets by shunting traffic from other streets onto them, from Garden onto Concord, for example, at some point the city has made these other streets so dangerous for bicycling that the bicyclists shouldn't be there anymore.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, I get that. I don't know that you make it illegal.
But you're making cars illegal on Garden. So how can you make cars illegal going one direction on Garden?
They made it one way. And
that's illegal. You can't just make that argument.
You can do that with
It's
bicycles.
illegal for me to go the direction I've always gone.
Yes, it is.
Right.
They made it one way. There are lots of one.
So why can't it be illegal for a bike to go into Concord one way?
It can be. There are places where the city says you can't bike, or the state says you can't bike. It's just a very difficult thing to do, and I don't know what kind of legality the city has, the legal rights the city.
And I don't want
But the point, Max, the point is the city said we're going to talk about these safety improvements on Garden Street. Who can be against safety improvements, right? And then it turns out that it's this much wider thing. The Garden Street changes make life more dangerous for bicyclists. No doubt about
cars
that.
Too.
They also, not the one-way cars, but they make life more dangerous outside of Garden Street on Concord and on Raymond and all these other streets where now you've got more cars, where there shouldn't be as many cars. They didn't get rid of any cars. They just moved them around. So these safety improvements make the world a more dangerous place. But if you want Cambridge to be Copenhagen, and you think, well, if we wait long enough, maybe that'll happen, then this is your thing. This is a fantasy. This whole bike lane argument is a fantasy driven by people that just don't understand physics.
I don't want to trick you, but I mean, obviously, so to me, it's very easy to say to a car, you can't go down Garden Street in this direction, right? It's easy because a car can only go one place. You have the lights. You have all these laws.
Right.
So I can't just decide I'm going to go down to Garden Street. But when I go, bikes go everywhere here. There's no enforcement whatsoever.
You are triggering me, Max.
So I mean, so I can't go down Garden Street. Well, can you stop telling the bikes on Concord to stop going the wrong direction?
Max, we can't keep bikes from going the wrong direction in the bike lanes that we've made. I almost got whacked. I was biking last night into East Cambridge, and there was someone biking the wrong way at night on Somerville Ave. And I'm like, hey, buddy, you're going in the wrong direction. So in my bike group, one person has been hospitalized in the last 10 years because they got hit by a car. We've had 3 or 4 people hospitalized because they either got hit by or hit another bicyclist. Like, these wrong way bicyclists are at night without a light, all this stuff. These bicyclists pose their own level of threat. So yes, we can't keep them from going.
We can.
Well, we could. We could decide this is the law and this is how we're going to.
Right, because if I run a stop sign, I know immediately I'm going to get points on my license.
Sure.
It's going to cost me real money. And if I do it like 3 times, probably my license gets taken away.
If we wanted to,
what happens to a bike when they run a stop sign? Nothing.
If we wanted to do this, we could.
Yes.
But the city has decided bikes can do whatever they want. If we cared about bike safety, to go back to my relatively small data sample, if we cared about bike safety, we would start with the riders. We would say, here's how you ride safely.
Be equal. You shouldn't be able to easily take me as a driver that wants to go down Garden, take away my right to go down. That's fine if it's going to make it safe. But you have to then address the other side of the issue, which are the bikers.
Absolutely. They're dangerous.
Yeah.
They're dangerous because we don't care about making them safe. That's my whole point, Max.
Yeah.
This Garden Street safety improvement has got nothing to do with making bicycling safer. If we wanted to make bicycling safer, we would start with helping cyclists understand that they have to act safer, because that is where the real value can be had in making bicycling safer. Building these dangerous bike lanes makes biking more dangerous for people like me, And it also makes life more inconvenient, if not more dangerous, for drivers like you. There's no plus side. I can't explain why the city does it.
It's doing it as I see. It's not somebody that I don't bike anywhere really. So, from my point of view, what I'm saying is that the bikes are like, we want more places to bike down that we feel are ours, that we control them, and we just keep giving them more stuff.
Right. We call it spatial justice, Max.
Right, but there's no like actual thought about like
None.
The worries of a driver like me of hitting anybody.
Max, there's no thought about bike safety.
Right,
This is all about some sort of reflexive spatial justice thing, and I get it. I mean, as a cyclist, I've been on the downside of all sorts of transportation decisions. It's just that this safety improvement stuff, is going in the wrong direction. It's making my life even more dangerous as a bicycle. So we're taking a bad situation and we're making it worse. And we're making it worse for what? We're making it worse so that some people can say, look at what we did, and feel proud of themselves without any sort of research and analysis about, does this really work? These things are covered in ice in the wintertime. Tell me how bicycling on ice is safe.
Yeah, I don't even know how. I mean, don't get me started. I mean, I don't even know how you get I can just look at it and see this is not going to work well. I mean, how do you plow? You put up those bollards. How do you plow in the little bike lane?
Well, they do have little machines that do that, but it'll leave a ring of snow in between the bollards that then seeps water across the bike lane, which then freezes. So as a cyclist, you're faced with biking on this icy bike lane, this narrow icy bike lane, or taking the road, the lane, which is legal and doesn't have any ice. But the cars don't like it. They see that bike lane and they think you should be in that bike lane. They don't know it's icy and dangerous and obstructed.
Oh, there's so many ways of access. If I'm riding down my bike lane, I see a puddle of ice, I'm just going to go left. Now, I might not look to see what's on the left, and it's a truck and I'm dead.
Yes,
and so,
or you might hit a bollard as you go left.
Right. But I mean, the reason I want to use my bike more, and I do like that there are more bike lanes. I definitely feel that's a positive. I definitely feel that's moving me in the right direction to use a bike. But the reason I don't is just walking around, I see that is total chaos. I don't want to be in a bike lane. Even if I have a bike lane, somebody's coming the other direction, I don't want to be on it. I don't want to be on it if somebody's on a one-wheeler or some other thing.
I had a guy not that long ago threatened to kick my ass. He was a cyclist going the wrong way.
Right.
And in one of these narrow bike lanes, there wasn't room to go. So we wound up both stopping. And I'm like, hey, buddy, you're going the wrong direction. I'll kick your ass. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, I get that a fair amount.
Yeah, well, we got to stop it because the one thing I feel safe in a car is I do feel like the rules are more or less, respected. So I know when I get in a car, I know what I can expect. But when I get on a bike, it's just like it's just chaos, all over.
Chaos,
and I can't. My brain just can't. I'm not young. I can't deal with it.
Yes, and you can't fall as well either. I mean, if there's one thing that will keep me from biking in Cambridge, it is other bicyclists. And now the electrocycle people and the scooter people. It's just this chaos terrifies me.
All right, well, we're at 18 minutes, so we should probably wrap it up.
All right, Max, next time we'll do this on a bicycle.
On your bike, not mine.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.